Hello and welcome to Online PTE. My name is Alistair and we are doing Module 4, Listening, and task number 5, Multiple Choice Single Answer. So multiple choice single answer is easier than multiple choice and multiple answers. You are only looking for one out of the options that are given you. But having said that, don't become complacent. Don't take things for granted. Really, you've got to totally focus on your listening in order to make sure you get the right answer. Before you listen, read the question and fully understand it. Again, that may sound obvious, but if you miss one key word, that could lose you a mark very quickly. So totally understand the question as best you can. Quickly skim the options, looking for key words which stand out amongst those options. And here you're looking for the main point and the key words of the options which are given you. As you listen, you should be focusing on the speaker's main ideas and the overall flow of what he or she is saying. So the way that the speaker develops their points is really important. You've got an erasable notepad when you take the exam. In preparation before the exam, just use a piece of paper so you can note down points as you listen. The speaker's objective or the speaker's opinion or the speaker's attitude is really important, and that's where the tone of voice comes into play. So where the speaker slows down, where they're emphasizing points, where their voice rises and intonation is higher, that's important. When the speaker starts to talk a little bit more quickly and the tone drops down, it is less important material for your answers. So we're actually going to do 3 tasks together, and you should have downloaded all of your material. And as you can look at section 2, multiple choice, choose single answer. Look at A, and in A it says, what made the speaker take up geology as a profession? So in any WH word or WH question, what is obviously key, and what persuaded the speaker to take up geology as a profession. A quick skim read of those 4 choices. The fact that he can travel to interesting places, so travel's really important, because he sees geologists as detectives. Detectives is a key word, but you might be looking for synonyms, words that are the same or similar meaning. His childhood interest in fossils. Fossils is important. And he regards building a picture of an unknown country as exciting work. So building a picture, an unknown country. So on your worksheet there, underline those keywords or keywords that stand out for you. Okay, so we're going to listen to this audio, and then after the audio is finished, let's see what answer you come up with.
I suppose the reason I got into geology was, well, as a kid I was fascinated by fossils. The fact that they went back countless years, long before there were any people on the planet. That was exciting, and they were beautiful too. And one thing led to another. What fascinates me? Let me give you an example. Suppose we dredge up from the seafloor some silt washed down by a river, and suppose that for political or other reasons we can't enter the country through which that river runs. Well, by careful study of the particles of that silt, we can form a pretty accurate picture of the nature of that country. Not just the rocks, I mean, but the vegetation and animal life of the area. I sometimes think what we do is a bit like Sherlock Holmes. You know, he takes a look at a man's shoes and can tell you which field in which county in England he's been in and when. That sort of detective aspect of the work is always interesting and exciting. Okay, we do spend time in the lab and at the computer, but we do get out and about and go to interesting places for field work.
Recording B. What?
Okay, I took some notes as I was listening. I heard as a kid he was interested in fossils, and that word's been given to you in one of your choices. He talked about the sea floor. He talked about study of silt. You might not know the word silt, so let's focus on study. He mentioned Sherlock Holmes. You might have heard of Sherlock Holmes as a famous detective. He mentioned that was very exciting. And he also said that it takes him to interesting places. So have another look at your choices. Which one stands out to you? 1, 2, 3 or 4? And the answer is number 3. 3 is correct because the speaker said, and I'll just read from the PTE Academic Test Builder, I suppose the reason I got into geology was, well, as a kid I was fascinated by fossils, the fact that they went back countless years, long before there were any people on the planet. That was exciting and they were beautiful too, and one thing led to another. 1 is incorrect because although the speaker mentions this aspect about travelling to interesting places, he does not say it influenced him in his choice of career. So that's really important. 2 is incorrect for the same reason, as is number 4. So although you'll hear some of those key words, you've got to see if there's a link between those and the answer that you come up with. Okay? Important to go over these audios again when you get a chance. Okay. Let's go to number 2. Beg pardon, B. And B, you'll see the question. What is the speaker's view of creative writing classes? So clearly the subject is creative writing classes. What is the speaker's view about this? Quickly skim read the choices. Underline those key words. And what words are you underlining? What is different between 1, 2, 3 and 4? And that's what you're looking for to choose the right option. So keywords are a really important part of this part of the test. So we're going to listen to the second audio, B. Let's see how we go.
Be taught, usually asked in a skeptical tone of voice, is not that I can't find an answer, but trying to figure out why I'm being asked. What do they want me to say? No, of course it can't. I just like taking people for a ride. I'm a con artist. Obviously, you can't teach someone to have a talent for storytelling or a love of language or how to write extremely well. But there are important lessons to be gotten across that will improve their writing and, at the very least, make it publishable. For me, the best starting point is the habit of close reading, really close, and responding to the language. Forget about grand themes and ethical content, whatever, for the moment, and ask if the author writes badly or well. So, writing can be taught through reading, through literature. Then I'd say, when it comes to your own writing, that you need to learn how to edit, to know when to say, you don't need that word or that sentence, and that whole paragraph can go. It's one of the most important lessons a writing class can teach. As for producing a Tolstoy or a Dickens, well, people like that tend to get there by their own route.
Okay, you need to make your choice between 1, 2, 3 and 4. And those keywords are important. And I heard the word teach mentioned several times. So your answer to B is number 2. So 1 is incorrect because the speaker says classes will improve someone's writing, but you can't teach someone to write extremely well. 3 is incorrect because the speaker says that close reading is part of his writing classes. And 4 is incorrect because there is no mention of developing a love of language in writing classes. Why is 2 correct? Well, the speaker says, obviously you can't teach someone to have a talent for storytelling or a love of language, but there are important lessons to be gotten across that will improve their writing and, at the very least, make it publishable. How did you get on with that one? A little bit trickier than the first. So really important to go over it for a second time and see if you can come up with that answer of 2. Okay, we're going to go to one more, and this is C on your worksheet. You're going to listen to the recording, answer the multiple choice question by selecting the correct response. What is the speaker's attitude to the report on narcissism? Quite a tricky word, and therefore you've got to focus on those keywords in 1, 2, 3 and 4, and this is where the speaker's tone is really important. Is he amused? He doesn't believe? He is angered? Or skeptical? And again, there's another word there, skeptical, that you might not have come across. Okay, so let you focus on those key words.
It's not often I get the chance to talk about the psychology of pop music, or rather the lyrics and the effect they have on young people. I must say at the outset that I'm not at all sure about the findings of a recent survey I've been studying, conducted over a period of 30 years. In short, it claims that late adolescents and college students are more narcissistic than ever before. This might well be true, and it might also be true that pop lyrics are becoming more self-absorbed, negative, and violent. But this might reflect the psychology of the writers and performers more than their listeners. Also, as the writers of the study are alarmed to discover, this radical increase in narcissism comes with higher levels of loneliness and depression, which, if you think about it for a second, is hardly surprising. Furthermore, they have detected a link with heightened anger and problems maintaining relationships. Now, a couple of points. First, adolescents are pretty much self-absorbed anyway, but it's rarely pathological. Also, you can read almost anything you want into song lyrics from any era. Again, people nowadays find it easier to express themselves emotionally than their counterparts did 30 years ago. Last, the survey suggests a complete personality change over the period covered. Yet I doubt that personality traits can change so much from one generation to another, or for that matter, from one culture to another.
Practice Test 1, page 45, section 2. Select missing.
All right, now quite a tricky one because there is quite a bit of vocabulary used there, and even the word narcissism or narcissistic. If you're not quite sure about that, what is really important for that listening is the speaker's voice, the tone of the voice. And amused, doesn't believe, angered, or skeptical. So I would immediately, after I'd listened to that particular task, I would get number 1, I would eliminate number 1. I would eliminate number 3 because there's no amusement, there's no anger. And then you've got to decide he doesn't believe any of it or is skeptical. And this is where you've got to make a choice. The answer is actually number 4. So if you're skeptical about something, it means you're pessimistic, you're not really sure about something. And so there's quite a similarity between 2 and 4. And that audio is a really good one to go over for a second time or third time, because the speaker's voice a lot of the time had falling intonation because he wasn't sure about the actual subject. So the answer there is 4. He says at the outset, I must say I'm not at all sure about the findings of a recent survey that I've been studying. Okay, so quite tricky, and again, don't take things for granted. With multiple choice and single answer, whilst it might be easier than the multiple answer, it isn't always, the answer isn't always that obvious. So persistence, consistency is really important. Keep on going over those audios, and if you're not sure about them, replaying them is a really good idea. So make sure you're doing your homework. Maybe your teachers are waiting for you. Bye for now.